says during the last part of the flood, the mountains arose, the valleys sank down, the water rushed off. We'll cover more on that on video 6. You know, fossilized birds have been found 13 feet tall. How'd you like to have that for Thanksgiving dinner? And lizards got huge. Did you know reptiles grow all their life? They never stop growing. I think before the flood, when people lived to be 900, the reptiles would get to be really big. Really big. I think dinosaurs were big lizards that lived with Adam and Eve. The word dinosaur means terrible lizard. And that would be a terrible lizard if it's about 80 feet long. You can buy these at the pet store today. It's called a Jackson chameleon. Got 3 horns on his face. I bet something similar to that, if you let it live 900 years, it'd get to be a triceratops. Now, I don't think today's lizards would grow to be dinosaurs if you let them live long enough. I think there's been any more than, you could take all the Chihuahuas today and crossbreed them and end up with a Great Dane. I think it's just the genes for largeness are gone for whatever reason. But I think they're certainly in the same family of animals. Dinosaur means terrible lizard. Dinosaur and human bones have been found together in Peru, in South America, several different places, and in South Carolina, and in Texas, and in Brazil, and in Russia. Human hands and dinosaur bones found in the same rock strata. Dinosaur and mammal remains found together, according to New Scientist magazine, February of 2001. The Ica stones in Peru show humans and dinosaurs together. We've got pictures right here. If you want to get some of the articles about the Ica stones, or go to our website, drdino.com. There's quite a bit of information about the Ica stones. There are about 20 of those in America. Now, we've got 3 of them in our museum, 3 of the actual Ica stones. They're real expensive to get out of the country down there in Peru. But a rich guy bought 3 of them, donated them to our museum. Said, yay, we'll take them. In Glen Rose, Texas, south of Dallas, that's where Dr. Ball's museum is, south of Fort Worth, they've got a river running through town called the Paluxy River. Back in 1908, the river flooded, and it got so bad, it ripped off the bottom of the river, which was solid limestone, sort of like concrete almost. It ripped off a 2-foot layer of limestone and moved it 20 miles downstream. Underneath was another layer of limestone, so it's no big deal. But that layer underneath contained hundreds of dinosaur footprints. They actually made a state park out of it. I've got the book right here, Dinosaur Valley State Park. If you want to come take a look at some of the pictures. They chiseled out lots of the tracks because they knew erosion would tear them up over the next 20, 30 years, would destroy them. They moved a lot of the tracks to museums. They cut out big blocks of stone and moved them and set them up under dinosaur skeletons. So it looks like the dinosaur just walked there. Some of the tracks are pretty big. Here's a kid taking a bath in one. Right next to the dinosaur tracks, frequently they found human footprints. Roland Bird was in charge of the group of guys digging out the tracks, and he reported there were 15 to 20-inch long, clearly defined human footprints with the dinosaur tracks. Human tracks and dinosaur tracks together? Hundreds of dinosaur track sites have been found around the world. Finding dinosaur tracks is not that unusual. Many have been found. There's some in Holyoke, Massachusetts, some in Connecticut. They found Colorado on Red Rock Amphitheater's got a bunch of dinosaur tracks. But to find human tracks with them is pretty unusual. In 1884, a geologist named Flint was working for the Peabody Museum and Harvard University. Down in Nicaragua, he discovered a layer containing fossilized human tracks, 16 to 24 feet below the surface. He described the tracks in 1884 and said these footprints are from 1/2 to 3 inches in depth, and none exceeded 18 inches. You can read the whole description for yourself on our website about the tracks found in Nicaragua. Human tracks are found. But now museums are real careful about mentioning anything about this because that might support the creation view. So stuff kind of gets squelched or hidden on this topic now. But human tracks with dinosaur tracks have been found a few times. There's some pictures here if you want to see a trail of human tracks crossing a trail of dinosaur tracks. This is the Taylor Trail from Glen Rose, Texas. I've been there 4 times. Talked to many folks who studied it. Carl Ball lives there, studied it avidly. People say, how can you have human tracks together? Well, one of the best human tracks still had the dermal ridges. I mean, like the fingerprints on the toes. You could see them. They were extremely clear for the first few months. And once it gets exposed, it starts to dry out and weather, and pretty soon it starts to become a little less clear, and then pretty soon it's nothing but an oval. And over time, it turned into a 3-toed dinosaur track. And some of the creationist groups have backed off talking about the Paluxy tracks because they say, well, maybe they were just dinosaur tracks all along. Well, no. A human stepped in where the dinosaur track was. That's the logical place to walk when you're going following somebody through the mud or through the snow. You step where they already walked. You folks get snow up here? You know about snow, right? Okay. Yeah, you walk where somebody else already walked. They did the work for you. So no, I think they really were human tracks. Here's one inside a dinosaur track right there. Logical place to step. There's a good book about it called Texas Tracks and Artifacts if you want to get more information on the human and dinosaur tracks together. We sell castings of one of the human tracks. It's a size 24. Check our catalog. You can get one of those for hang on your wall in your office. That'll start a conversation. You can steer that conversation toward creation. We had a kid with a size 18 tried to fill up our 24 track, couldn't quite do it. They chiseled out some of the rock ledges and said, we think the tracks are fake, you know, some of the skeptics did. When they removed the rock, they found more tracks underneath the undisturbed limestone. And they said, okay, who made these tracks anyway, under the rock here? They sawed one of the tracks across the toes. Looking at it endways, you could see there were depressions where the toes had squeezed the mud down, distorting the lamination lines. These are not carved in, they're not erosion marks, they're compression prints, quite obviously. There's much more on that on the website omniology.com. The man's stride between steps was about 6 or 7 feet. I would rip my britches every time trying to do that. How do you get human tracks and dinosaur tracks together? Well, one preacher, he's assistant pastor in Arizona, he wrote me a letter. He said, Brother Hovind, I grew up in Glen Rose, Texas. He said, I went on an excavation with Dr. Carl Baugh. We were out there digging up these footprints, and Nova was there to film the dig. He said, there was an evolutionist who had been arguing with Dr. Baugh the entire time. Nova didn't film much of the tracks or the dig, but they did interview the evolutionist. He told them he had not seen anything there to disprove evolution. What he didn't tell the camera was he had refused to even turn around and look at the tracks we were working on. When they found some tracks, they would say, sir, would you video this? No, I don't want to see it. He wouldn't even look at it. He stood with his back to the tracks and the dig while making the statements. Nova knew the man had not looked at the tracks, but did not report that, nor did they give Dr. Baugh equal airtime to respond. You see, folks, evolution is not part of science. It's a religion, and they defend their worldview with religious fervor and zeal. If it was real science, it would be open to all observations, but they totally, purposely discredit anything that goes against their theory. One guy said, well, maybe there was a dinosaur with feet like a human. That explains these tracks here. Oh, you never know. Could have been, you know. This guy said, finding dinosaur and human footprints together would counter evidence that humans evolved long after dinosaurs. I agree. And would back up the claim that all species, including man, were created at one time. I agree. It sure would back up that claim. They don't want that claim to get out. This guy said, creationists have stated humans and dinosaurs were contemporaries in time. Were this momentous statement true, the names of its discoverers would thunder down the corridors of time as individuals who made one of the most outstanding discoveries of the 20th century. Well, I didn't discover it, but you can put my name on there. I believe that to be true. Yeah. There's more books about footprints in stone if you want to get more on this topic. I've heard the arguments on both sides. I still believe it is very true. Even a petrified hammer was found. Now, some people say, oh, they didn't have iron before the flood. Oh, they sure did. You better read your Bible. Tubal-Cain was an artificer in brass and iron. That's before the flood. This bell was found inside a lump of coal made of like a brass material. Coal, according to the textbooks, was formed 250 million years ago. According to the Bible, I think coal was formed in the flood 4,400 years ago. In Illinois, a lady broke open a lump of coal. There was a gold chain inside about 10 inches long. I called every person by the last name of Culp, C-U-L-P, I could find in Illinois. I spent hours calling all over, and several of them said, yeah, that was so-and-so, Uncle so-and-so, and that was years ago. I don't know what happened to it. I couldn't trace down what happened to the chain. But if anybody wants some research projects, start calling all the Culps and find out where that chain is. I'd like to have it for my museum in Pensacola, Florida. This iron pot was found inside a lump of coal. It's in a museum, in Carl Baugh's museum in Texas. This thing was found in solid rock, supposed to be 600 million years old. Beautifully carved little trinket there. I was in Idaho preaching, and I went to Nampa, Idaho, to the museum. Years ago, somebody was drilling a well in Idaho, and they brought up this little doll from 300 feet down. In rock, supposed to be 12 million years old. I held it in my hand, little doll, obviously man-made. Batteries were found in Iraq from areas supposed to be 2,000 years old. Some people say, oh, they didn't have electricity before that. Oh, yeah, they did. The Egyptians